Hello and welcome to my channel. Welcome if you haven't been here before. Welcome back if you have. This is a place where I like to talk about spiritual and self-help concepts through my experience, how I've experienced them. So kind of taking an abstract idea of spiritualism or self-help and kind of giving personal examples of how I've experienced these things and how they can show up in real life, because sometimes that's not always easy. Today I wanted to talk about how to control bad thoughts. Now, the kind of bad thoughts that I'm talking about, or the type of person that I'm talking about, is, someone who's trying to do their best, but they have these bad thoughts. Like they see somebody sometimes and they just have this thought comes in their head of like how much they don't particularly like that person, or just something very critical about the person. Maybe it's about the way that they're dressing. Maybe it's about something that they're doing, but you have this thought, and sometimes it's rather disturbing. They can get pretty invasive. And the more you ignore them, they don't go away, right? And they can become intrusive thoughts. And intrusive thoughts can be even more scary. So sometimes just having a bad thought about somebody, especially somebody that you love, is very disturbing in itself. But when you have more of an intrusive thought, which is kind of more extreme than just a bad thought. Like a bad thought is like, like her dress, like I hate her dress. And it's also maybe somebody that you love. So it can be disturbing because you're like, oh, I love this person, but why am I having this bad thought? And an intrusive thought is something more extreme, like violent, or, wanting to kill somebody, or wanting to like chop off a foot, like just really, really extreme, right? So it's important to know the difference between a bad thought, an intrusive thought, and it's a scale, right? Everything's a scale. So how do we control these bad thoughts? What are they? Where are they coming from? What do they mean about us, right? I remember very specifically at a young age having my first bad thought about somebody I cared about. And oh my gosh, it shook me to my core. It was about one of my caregivers, and I just sat back and I was like, oh my gosh, I am a bad person. How can I think this? Why am I thinking this? And the answers, no one could answer the question for me. I was also raised very religiously in a Calvinistic Christian setting. So having bad thoughts did make you a bad person. They talk about in the Bible, guard your mind, all these things, but they don't tell you how, and they don't tell you to be kind to yourself during this process. It's more like something's wrong with you, you're bad, you need help. So this stuck with me for a very, very long time. And it was important to me to figure out and understand what these bad thoughts meant and what do I do about them, because I don't want to be a bad person. So basically, bad thoughts, or thoughts that we deem bad or critical or judgmental of other people, you kind of have to send through two filters. You have to send through one filter of, are you experiencing jealousy? Are you being critical of them because it's something that you want? You really have to check in with yourself first. Are you producing this because you're indulging in these bad thoughts? So that's the first thing. And that's its own journey and work in itself that we all need to work on. And then the second thing is sometimes bad thoughts occur because somebody has done something to us that was wrong or is wrong. So then we naturally start having bad thoughts about those people. We naturally start to dislike those people. We naturally want to avoid them, or these thoughts, that pop up. They can be because someone is mistreating you. And if you're a people pleaser or you're a chronic forgiver or have no boundaries, you can be forgiving and continually letting this person in your life, and they can continually be disrupting it or causing dysfunction or just being not a very good person to you. And you will naturally start to have those thoughts. So my experience today with those thoughts is those two filters. You go through them. They don't mean you're a bad person. You're experiencing something, and it's our responsibility to understand what we are experiencing so that we can live our lives a little bit better. Those bad thoughts are sometimes really wonderful ways to show us that maybe something's going on that we're not really aware of. Me having bad thoughts as a child about a caregiver was very appropriate. I did not like the way that they were treating me. It was a very dysfunctional relationship and format, and so naturally I was going to have bad thoughts about somebody who is constantly treating me badly. But because of the religion, because I was constantly told I had to love them and respect them, and I was taught that I wasn't allowed to have bad thoughts. There's really no such thing as bad thoughts. Like, our minds are trying to communicate with us, and it's up to us to kind of figure out what those signals mean. So I just want to leave that with you. So don't control them. That's kind of the trick. We don't control them. We listen to them. It's really wonderful feedback. So your feedback would be through those two filters. One, you need to work on your jealousy or your criticism or your judgmentalness of other people, because that can be why you're having bad thoughts. And that's a wonderful thing that you can work on. Like, we all want to do that, right? And then the second way is you really filter out. You get to see maybe someone isn't treating you the way that you deserve. It can show you a boundary that you need to have. So, moral of the story, we're not going to control them. We are going to allow them, let them in, and we're going to learn from them, because that is the best way to go about it. Suppressing the bad thoughts. I suppressed my bad thoughts for 30 years, and I tell you, it didn't make my life any better. So it can be scary, and it can bring up a lot of things that might need to be changed in your life. But it's better than not knowing how to deal with these bad thoughts. And it's better to know if someone's mistreating you. Love and light.